a little bit of background, which is that I was doing some things with classes and so forth, a little bit out of the ordinary, and I found that I couldn't do what I wanted to do. I knew it could be done, I didn't know how to do it, and I found it rather hard to learn it. When I figured out how it was done, I thought, well, perhaps some other people have got similar problems. So, one of the things was how to subclass the built-in types. Now, the course is based upon this training material, which is developed open source. There's no library. I haven't told you what. Well, okay. So let's tell you where to get this training material from. Tomorrow, it will be available on memory sticks. So everything I'm showing you now will be available on memory sticks. You can put it on your machine and go through it during the tutorial as I go through it. And I think that's going to be pretty useful because last time I gave a tutorial, the display wasn't that brilliant. So you can actually see all this stuff. You'll actually see all the stuff on your own screen. Here you'll notice that I made some changes 6 hours ago to the training material, so it's all up to date. And you'll also notice there are no downloads, but we hope to fix that soon. So the training material will be available for download. For example, if you're here just to learn about it, but you'd rather go to Raymond Hetchinger's tutorial tomorrow, but you want to pick this up later, for example, or if you're on a light ticket. So, and what I did was I've added some examples, exercises, because the last training session I did ran out of steam because I didn't have the examples. So I think we'll start with those. Sorry, I'm not doing the right thing here. That's better. So there's a lot of stuff here. We'll start with the exercises, and I'll just briefly go. Do you want this a bit bigger? I think we can afford to make it a bit bigger. Yeah. Is that good at the back? So these are the problems I'm going to teach you how to solve, and I'm not going to teach you how to solve them using recipes. I'm going to teach you how to solve them by showing you the concepts, and then I'll give you the recipe, if I have to. So we want to read lines from a file, maybe from several files, and maybe simply because we want to give enhanced diagnostic. Oh, look, you goofed on line 37 of file such and such. We want to attach to the lines of the file additional information. Is that okay? For each line of the file, we want additional information, which might be the name of the file and the line number. And what we want to be able to do is we want to be able to pass a file and its file name. It might not be the same. You might be opening a socket or something, but we'll just keep them separate. But we want to label lines that produces something. We can iterate over a file and get the lines one at a time, but we don't get any information about the line numbers or anything. So what we want to do is we want to iterate over the file, but we want the line numbers and the file name to be part of what we're getting out. But we want the line still be a string, perhaps for backwards compatibility, or so we can apply a regular expression to it. So we actually want the subclass string to get this sort of behavior. We're subclassing a built-in type so that we can store some additional information on it. Problem clear? Excellent. Is the solution clear? Well, let's go on to the next one. Okay. Why do I have to magnify it again? This one's quite nice, because we're actually going to do something that people don't often do with classes, and I think they should do it a lot more, which is a property, as if you were at Mark Smith's talk. It's a way of sort of giving you a virtual attribute. You put a function on the class, and it behaves like an attribute on the instance. But you get to choose what happens when you set and get and delete a property, an attribute. Now, elsewhere in the training material, I tell you what properties are, and they're in the standard documentation. But the key thing is a property is formed by passing four arguments to a function. There's a function called property, and you give it 4 arguments. How many people have used decorators before? How many people need to know what a decorator is? Okay, so property is normally used as a decorator. And you give it one function, it's the fget function. 10 minutes left? Gosh. It's a teaser, right. Okay, so let's speed up a bit. What I'm doing is we're going to make a function called property from class, where you pass a class to it, where you set these separate functions. You see the difficulty with this interface here is you've got to provide 3 functions in general. So you've got to sort of write the function, give it a name, and then pass it into the property thing. And a class is a nice way of gathering together several functions. This is just a syntactic convenience. It's syntactic sugar, it makes it nicer, but we'll actually learn a lot about classes, and we'll use classes, in order to get this to work. So that's the second of our exercises. We're going to write this thing here. We'll probably write a rough solution, then we'll write better solutions and better solutions. So let's try the next one. Oh, named integers. This is fun. Is that big enough at the back? Or do you want it bigger? Sorry? It's okay. Okay, because we've got everything on one screen there. So it's true and false. Boolean is a subtype of integer. Well, understand how Boolean works. That's one of the things we're going to do, is going to understand how Boolean works. And then the idea is to create another subclass of integer. In this case, it's going to have parameters 0, 1, 2, and 3, strings. The idea is that if you pass in string 0, you'll get the number 0. Pass in the string, and if you pass in the number 2, you'll get the number 2. Both these are sort of perhaps obvious behaviors. But the nice thing is that when you turn this into a string, you'll get TWO, the string, too. You know, when you evaluate a Boolean expression, you get a number, 0, but it's actually a Boolean, so it says on the console, true. One of the big differences between Booleans and integers is Booleans are called true and false rather than 0 and 1. And we'll reproduce that here. It might or might not be useful. Looks as though it might be. And it's a good way of learning how to do these things. The next one, okay, this might be too hard for us. But we want to efficiently store a subset of the vowels, or a subset of the people in this room. So it's not a set. A set can have any members. But a subset, you're saying ahead of time what the universe is. So you can just store a subset as a sequence of zeros and ones. A subset is simply a sequence of zeros and ones, together with knowing which corresponds to each 0 and each 1. So this is something that fits in with some of the things I've been doing. I think it's a nice application. Because at the one level, it's an integer. It's just a bunch of zeros and ones, or it's a sequence of bytes, raw data. You want to store millions of them. And on the other hand, it's really something quite subtle. So we've got that. What have we got? Oh yes, we're nearly getting to the end here. We're going to do something very trivial. These are not the only things I'm doing, but I think these are the exercises that bring a lot of things together. And there are other things we could do if you want me to. But these are things I'm interested in, and this is your opportunity in the questions to say, I'd really like to learn about, can you put that in the tutorial? And I'll say, of course, yes, if there's time. Okay, what I'm going to do is turn a class into a tuple, right? Which I call class data. And then I'm going to do it the other way. I'm going to turn class data into a tuple. We're going to write decorators like that. -5, excellent. +10 would have been nicer, but there we go. Yeah. I want to persuade them that I'll learn something. These are the problems. Okay, so these things are unpacking. You should think of these as input-output. You know, we're unpacking and repacking. Right? So this is really important because it tells you that anything you can construct by using the class statement, you can construct it without. Because you turn it into class data, and that's the thing you can construct without the, well, forget it, I'll do it tomorrow. So we've got that, and then what else we've got? Oh, this is if you're interested, which is, gives you something to think about. A lot of people do a lot of complicated coding with metaclass. And I think most of it is unnecessary, although I haven't proved it, if you like. And a lot of it can be done simply by putting a decorator on. Right? So I want you to think about constructing classes with special properties by using a decorator. So what the decorator does is you unpack the class into all the bits, you manipulate the bits, and then you put them back together again. Have I communicated that? So perhaps you might want to make a class such that all its methods are logged. You want to take a class and say, oh, I like this class, but I want to log all the method calls. So we'll produce a decorator that does that sort of thing. Okay? So, is there time for questions now?
Sure.
Yeah. So maybe I should take questions now. I mentioned JavaScript in the title. There's not really going to be any JavaScript here, but at the end, I will do something quite amusing, if you'll let me, showing that JavaScript objects are like Python classes, which does your head in. But when you recover from it, you understand a great deal more. But that's not the main focus. The JavaScript is really not there. Don't get put off by the JavaScript. Don't get put off by the JavaScript.
JavaScript was really a teaser for people to come.
Well, it didn't work, did it?
So,
it did. Questions?
Any question that Jonathan can answer tomorrow? So you must go to the training. No, just joking. Any question?
No. Any question? Anything you'd like the tutorial to cover, or you should have Python on your machine. I think I'm going to give you a copy of the Python documentation because I've got it on my machine. So you'll have that, Real-world problems that are, can be distilled down to something small will be very valuable. We had a couple during the previous talk, which was... Sorry? Yeah. Well, if you come to the training, you can present the thing and we'll discuss it together as it's appropriate.
Okay.
There must be questions. Do people know about slots? Do people want to know about slots? What do people want to know about? I've told you what I want to tell you about, but what do you want to know about? Practicing Python programmers, what do you need to know? I mean, I've got my ideas, but you know what you're the experts about yourself.
They're shy.
They are
Don't
shy.
worry.
They're very
Don't
shy.
worry. But they have a night to think about it. So tomorrow they will have a lot of questions. Okay.
Or if there are no questions, but I wish there were.
Well, since there are no questions, you can do one last teasing before leaving.
All right, one last thing. Let's see what we should do. Oh, I'll show you the table of contents. Yeah, that will be good. Okay. So, table of contents. This is all the stuff I've prepared. Okay. We may not cover it all. I'm going to talk about decorators, because they're actually quite important, and maybe we can go through this at high speed if you've seen them all already. I'm going to talk about the empty class, which is actually quite interesting because it's not as empty as it looks. Dict from class is how do we get a dictionary from a class? Well, that's related to one of the problems we've got, isn't it? Property from class, well, that's one of the... Okay, I've given you the answers to one of the assignments, I guess. Deconstructing classes, I've not done much there, but... Okay, how many people have used the type statement? To do anything other than find the type of an object? Okay, you can use the type statement with, how many people know you don't have to use the class statement? The class statement in Python, you can do all your programming without ever using a class statement.
The procedural programming.
What? It's torture, but it's doable, and sometimes it's the right thing. So we'll talk about the type statement, and we're going to sort of subclass int, and talk about why we have to subclass int the way we do. Subclassing tuple, what happens when you call a class. I'm going to do some meta-class stuff. How many people want to know about meta-classes? Oh, fair handful. Why? In order to avoid them. Sorry? In order to understand existing code? Okay, so bring some existing code. It's a cool name, isn't it? Yeah, it's very topical. It's fashionable. Yeah. Oh, I'm a meta-class programmer. Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll do a bit about meta-classes and the meta-class attribute. This is the stuff I'm not going to tell you about. JavaScript objects are like Python classes with custom item methods on the meta-class which are never instantiated. I didn't understand that a year ago. Made no sense to me. Sorry, I'm pressing the wrong key. Got the exercises. Well, the exercises are at the end, but really they're up front, which is why I've talked about them. So if those exercises are the sort of things you want to learn about, plus the stuff I've done here, plus anything you bend my arm to ask me to do, then the tutorial is for you. Was there a question at the back? No? Hand moving?
I think...
Somebody was bidding?
I think we are done with the time.
Yeah, okay then.
Hey.
Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much, Jonathan.